Welcome to the Nurture Nerds Epic Podcast.
Come join us and get cuddly, get gaming, and get nerdy.
And
And get
get
nurtured.
nurtured. Woohoo! Here we are again. Oh my gosh. Crystal,
Woo!
I can't believe it. We're here. This is episode 36. That
That's
is,
Wow.
crazy.
that's
That is a
insane,
lot of
right?
episodes. I
Yeah, I
can't
love it.
even believe that we've done this many.
I love that we're still here doing this. This just makes me so happy.
Well,
It does
welcome,
feel good.
everyone. This is a podcast where we ask, what are you nerdy about? And how does that level up your connections and wellness? And as Mary said, we're on episode 36 now, and we're taking you all the way to Amsterdam in the Netherlands to meet Laura of Lekker Cuddles. And we'll also talk about what's going on in our community, which is always free to join. So reach out to us with a comment or an email, and also subscribe.
Thank you, Alyssa.
Yeah, awesome. And as we usually do, and we have Alyssa here to host this part for us. What are we drinking today? Do you want to take it, Alyssa? This is our homage
Oh,
to
definitely. Yeah. So I have been doing this thing where I combine two tea bags, and
you.
I have both of them are Bigelow, and one of them is ginger peach turmeric, and the other one is lavender.
Nice. I
Great
think you
choices.
got that from me, didn't you?
Yeah, probably even
That makes me
tempted
happy
me.
too. Crystal, what have you
And
got?
I've got like multiple drinks as always. So I have a nice organic mango blend for this morning. That's a delicious juice. I also have some water with lemon and lime in it. That is one of my favorites. And then my actual warm drink is my coffee. It is a decaf with some, what is it called? It's got some mushroom powders in it, and it's got some creamer in it, and it's got something else in it that I really love. Saffron. Saffron is like a thing that I like to add to
Ah,
my teas
nice.
and coffee.
Yeah.
It's very delicious. How about you, Mary? What are you
Well, I've
drinking?
got my trusty water bottle. I have to drink many of these every day. And then
Love it.
I actually am happy that I brought a bunch of my mugs back. So I have my New Orleans mug
Oh,
that I had in my storage for two
beautiful.
years. So I'm happy about that. I'm drinking just plain old Irish breakfast black tea, but I wanted to share a hack with you guys that I found because I like to have heavy cream in my tea. Most restaurants only have half and half or they have creamer or whatever. I found if I ask for whipped cream at restaurants,
Ha!
I can get my heavy cream in my tea. So I wanted to share that with you guys. So this is how I get my cream at restaurants.
Pro
I think that's
tips.
gorgeous. And I remember, yeah, you doing that at the restaurant recently, and I really was like, this is good.
I
That's
did do
good
that.
stuff.
Yes, we got to be in person
Yes.
and I did that. Yeah. Because they don't have good
Mm.
cream. Anyway, and we have Laura with us today. Laura, would you share with us what you're drinking and then give us your introduction? That'd be awesome.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me and nice to meet you all. I am basically always drinking sparkling water, San
Nice.
Pali.
Nice.
I actually don't really drink still water at all. So I just am
Mhm.
always caught with a bottle of San Pellegrino. So here it is today. But yeah, my name is Laura Just, and I am the founder of Lekker Cuddles, based in Amsterdam, as well as Berlin. I'm actually back and forth between Amsterdam and Berlin, seeing clients, a little bit of London as well, but mostly Western Europe. Yeah, and I've been cuddling professionally for almost 5 years, and I'm one of the only people doing it in Western Europe. It's not a huge industry here yet, so yeah, kind of pioneering the way, and happy to be yeah, educating people about the magnificent impacts of cuddle therapy.
Awesome.
Love that. Pioneering is really powerful. I love hearing that. We're all
It
pioneers
is.
in this industry.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's very true. We all are because it's such a young industry, right? So we definitely
Yeah.
all are in our own right.
Yeah, my heart goes out to you. That's definitely hard work.
Oh, thanks, Crystal.
Mm.
Mm.
Laura, what would you say got you, started or inspired you to start this business? This is such a fascinating industry that can be. I feel like most of the people who jump into it have a pretty heavy calling, and that's not always true. But like, what kind of got you thinking about it?
Yeah, so I remember when I first heard about it, I was in 2016 and it was from a Vice article. And I just remember thinking, oh, I would be so good at that. And it's just my natural inclination and just the ease I have connecting with people. Basically, for as long as I can remember, people have just always said they feel really safe around me. They just feel that they can connect with me really effortlessly and just in no time at all. And I think that's very important for us cuddle therapists. Like one question I always get people are like, how can you cuddle with strangers? I'm like, it's really like no one feels like anyone is a stranger once we start cuddling, even though we've literally only met each other for 10 minutes. Usually the sort of like like housekeeping we have to do in my first session with a new client, it only takes about 10-15 minutes, but then it's like we've known each other for some time. But yeah, it's funny. I did feel a bit of a calling. I knew it's something sort of my natural talents and skill set would lend itself to, but I did also see an opportunity. It was it was September 2020. So it was like peak pandemic time. And then there was a lot of focus on, in Dutch, it's called huidhunger or skin hunger, like the need for touch. This was like, there's a lot of focus on this in the media at the time. And I wasn't working at the time due to losing my job. And I was back and forth between Canada and Amsterdam at the time. I'm actually Canadian, I'm not Dutch. And so I wasn't working. And then I was like, I remember I had heard about professional cuddling and I was like, oh, I wonder if anyone is doing that here. And at the time there was one other woman doing it. She's not doing it since then. But yeah, it really was just like, oh, wow, well, that's clearly something that people need. And yeah, something I think I would be good at. So of course, because of the pandemic, I started with like a very, very small client base. We were all like in each other's bubbles, so to speak. Like lots of communication about who they were seeing, which was essentially no one. These were all single people working from home. And then from there, I slowly, I did my certification with Cuddle Professionals International. And then slowly as restrictions just lessened, then I was able to grow my client base and kept learning and growing. And here I am almost 5 years later.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because, just from your accent, I kind of was thinking that maybe you weren't originally from Amsterdam.
Yeah.
But yeah, have you practiced in North America at all?
Yeah, I have. So I've seen clients in Canada.
Okay.
And yeah, it's different. Like
I'd love to hear like the differences. That was my question.
Yeah, no, of course. Yeah, this is like it's very interesting, and I think I have like pretty solid theories as to why it is. So it's basically this is the difference I see. Like it's definitely kind of to put it bluntly, like I would say a little less safe in North America because sex work isn't legal. That's like kind of what it boils down to, right? Like it seems to be a bit of a gray area, right? The clients I've seen in Canada, it's just a bit like, it just seems everything's a bit unclear. It's like, even if, you do communicate, this is a platonic service, perhaps they've had cuddlers that have offered them extras for extra money. And so there's a little bit of like, okay, like what else can I get here? Whereas here in Netherlands, as well as in Germany, sex work is, it's legal. So it's just very black and white, right? Like there's no, if I offered more, I would advertise it, right? There's just no concept of asking for more because if that's what my service was, that's what I would say, right? So because everything is so black and white here, I think, it's a lot more, everything's just like a lot more clear. And I feel like it's safer here for sure.
I love hearing that firsthand because I had that in my head and I'm realizing now I've never like heard that firsthand, that would be how it would be when sex work is legalized, like that we could really have our clear delineations. We could really find the clients that are actually looking for what we're offering and send them to, the clients can find what they're looking for. And it is like, as you said, safer for everybody when we can do that. And I'm just realizing now this is my firsthand like getting that confirmed. So thank you for that, Laura. I really appreciate it.
Of course. You were right. Your instinct was right. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it because my conception of cuddling is sex positive and it is pro sex work
Of course.
for all those reasons. So, yeah, definitely. Cool.
Yeah, and it's like it's interesting to see, when because I have clients who see sex workers and see me, and so it's really interesting to see that they're just the different things you get from different types of intimacy. And yeah, I have like if someone does realize like, oh, actually, I do want to explore sexual intimacy, I can just very simply and safely refer them to a sex worker. And yeah, it just makes everything just a lot more simple and easy when sex work is simply just legal. So
Right. Nice.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that that is something that we definitely advocate for here and are working to build more safety into things like referrals. I think it's not as easy. Trust is not always as open, but I love hearing that it's something you're able to navigate. So thank you so much for sharing that. I think it's a big deal. I think it's a really
For
big deal
sure.
in intimacy
It
work.
is a big deal.
Yeah.
And do you find that people are like more open and looking for cuddlers there, or more easy to talk about it, or not? There's so much shame in the
No,
adult
yeah,
field.
like I would say, yeah, I'd say there's like probably a little less of the shame.
Mhm.
No, yeah, there's less shame just because I think, well, in general, the Dutch are quite open-minded.
Mhm.
And yeah, there's not this like, oh my God, I can't believe I have to pay for this. But then it's also just because they really just see it as they feel that it's genuine, and the connection is genuine, and then they really just see it as like paying for my time. And the Dutch, they have like a respect for business here, so it's just like there's no shame. It's like, yes, I'm paying for this service, but that's because I'm paying for your time. And then like the sort of, despite the transaction, this is genuine. And of course it is. And I think so, yeah, I think this sort of like authenticity of it kind of makes them feel like less, kind of ashamed about it. But yeah, in general, they're quite open-minded. I've to be fair though, I've also seen that change. Like there definitely was 5 years ago, there was more shame. And then yeah, through it's just it has become a little more popular. I mean, like I still tell some people about it, and they've never even heard of the concept. But it's slowly through, yeah, me and there's obviously some others here in Europe, educating people, and just about also the different reasons why you would come to cuddle therapy. It's not like you're just some whatever, like some loser who can't get a date. Like this is, I feel like this was sort of like the stigma maybe a few years ago, and then people are like, oh wait, there's actually so many different reasons one would go, and the impacts can be very like varied. So I think the shame is, I would say, less. I would say it's less here. And I think maybe that's also just having to do with there's just less shame around, yeah, intimacy in general here, right? Like, like I mentioned, sex work is legal. So it is more normalized. That being said, I mean, platonic intimacy, I'm not going to say it's normal here. I mean, it's not. Like, of course, there is still like I always call it reconfiguration period of having to like wrap your head around the idea of like cuddling this intimately, like, but in a platonic sense. Like people do still have to wrap their head around that, but generally intimacy is just less stigmatized. So for that reason, I think there's less shame.
Thank you. I think that's a very well put answer. I think intimacy is just such a fascinating concept, and I think our goal as cuddlers is really to shift and raise awareness about the different levels of intimacy, the nuances in the language, and so I'm really excited, that it is shifting in, overseas as well. I would love to ask Laura a little bit about your experience with training. Maybe when you decided to take a training. I know it was with the International Cuddlers, which I'm actually unfamiliar with, and I would love to hear more about their actual program or anything that you're open to describing, as we're big advocates for training. And I also resonate with how important it is for safety. So I would love to just hear any thoughts you have or what that experience was like for you.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, it's an accrediting body actually out of the UK, Cuddle Professionals International. It's like 15 modules, like a self-paced online program. Yeah, it just sort of starts with like, the fundamentals of touch, the science of touch, why we need it, some sort of like cultural aspects, like cuddling, with different groups. Um, it's like, as far as safety, it probably could have been a little more like thorough, sort of like jumping into ways to keep yourself safe. Like it had some basic things. But yeah, it was like a blueprint. Like that's how I would describe it. Like it was a really good blueprint, but definitely could have probably gotten specific on a few different things. Yeah, I have mostly just sort of figured out my safety protocol myself.
Okay.
Yeah, and I so far, I mean, knock on wood, it hasn't failed me. But again, I do also recognize, like, I think it is, like I mentioned, it is generally, I think it is safer here. There's
Okay.
also like, I'll say this, like I am Canadian, so the I would say generally in Western Europe, there is like more of a respect for personal boundaries than in North America.
Okay.
That's my experience. And I have a lot of people that agree. I'm not sure. I mean, we could, talk theories about why that is, but yeah, generally there is just like a larger respect. And like I mentioned, also this respect for business. So it's like, you say this is it and then you don't do anything else. I respect that. Right. And then, yeah, I do have, yeah, of course I have safety protocols as far as vetting clients and whatnot, but that wasn't actually taught to me in the training. That's something I came up with myself. And so far it hasn't failed me. So.
I love hearing that, and I really love hearing the perspective that safety could have been touched on a little bit more, and also the perspective that maybe it is um, a little more needed in the States versus overseas. All of that's very powerful to me as someone who really advocates for training and also resonates with there needs to be some leveling up in all of the trainings that I see personally, and there needs to be a little more safety, or maybe even just specialty workshops for cuddlers set up to talk about safety. I think that's a heart space of mine. And I do think that luckily it seems like there's a low incidence of, safety hurdles. I know you mentioned knock on wood. I feel the same. But I do know that there are people that have experienced some rough things. And I've been at least aware of that does happen. And so it's a big deal. And I know we always want to honor kind of people's movement through safety and trauma and how they're feeling.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah, I am a little sad to hear that this training doesn't really cover safety, because to me that's a big part of what training for cuddling should be
Yeah.
a cover. Yeah, and
Agreed.
just to kind of give a shout out to another project that I've been working on with Crystal too. We're actually starting a Society of Cuddle Professionals, and we're gonna be working on like what our best practices for cuddle professionals and best practices for training. So yeah,
Nice.
I'm really interested to get connected with the Cuddle Professional International, because I hadn't heard of it before either.
Me too.
So so that we can all help each other. That's the whole point of
Definitely.
let's connect with people, let's connect with other cuddlers, let's do it together. And we're doing it right now, so I love it.
Nice. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. Do you have a question for us? We don't usually ask that, but why not? I kind of feel
Yeah,
like
why not? Well, yeah, I mean, like I guess on the topic of safety, like how has it been for you guys? I'm curious also about your vetting processes. I think I'm the only one that I know. Like, I don't do the video calls actually before I meet my clients. Like, I have a Google Doc that they fill out and I review it. And I basically do the vetting process through like text or email. And yeah, it's always worked for me. Like, I can just sort of gauge by the way they're communicating, the questions they're asking. But like, I'm open to the fact that might not be optimal. So I'm curious about your guys's experience with vetting and with safety.
Well, I'll go first. I'm sure Crystal has more insight. She has done a lot more sessions than I ever have. I'm more of a group facilitator, but I
Okay.
have had a private practice. I've done some private sessions, and For me, I definitely do recommend that we have a vetting, some kind of vetting with your people. And I do think it is more optimal to have some kind of visual contact with folks to see their body and how you work together. And for me, I needed that to be in person. That's what I decided. And that is one reason why I don't do a lot of sessions, because a lot of people didn't want to do that.
Yeah,
So
fair.
I was meeting people like in libraries and in coffee shops and stuff to talk for 20 minutes or something for my free intake session. And to see how we are together,
Mhm.
if I can really wholeheartedly offer them what they're looking for, find out what they're looking for, talk to them about it. So that was my process. Like, we're going to meet in person, 15, 20 minutes free. We're going to answer all your questions. We're going to go over the code of ethics. And by the end, that thing that you said, like, I don't cuddle strangers, like, I don't cuddle strangers either. I want to know, I can get to know them pretty quickly based on, from what other people say, but in 20 minutes I can tell if it's somebody that I actually want to cuddle or not. So that's my process. So, Crystal.
Yeah, no, I love hearing that. And I think what's beautiful and what stands out to me even before we dive deeper is that, each human that does this work in any capacity, one-on-one or group events, is really putting themselves in a beautiful, vulnerable place. So that's a very important thing to celebrate. Um, and each human that does this work is called to it for different reasons and has different strengths. And so, for me, a lot of people do value the Zoom call or the in person. I've done a ton of phone call work, like call center work, where I was customer service or I was inbound or outbound.
Mm.
I've found that I love hearing the tone of someone's voice. I actually find it more powerful than being able to like see them on a Zoom. I find that Zoom can be a little distracting for me. And
Mm.
so, a phone call is required, although I am open to a Zoom or a in-person meetup, and I've done all of the above. However, a phone call is kind of like the requirement for me. And I am working to get a Google question form set
Mm.
up that will be helpful, I think, as a pre event, and it'll also have like my what are they called? My like business document that they have to sign, the legal waiver. Um, but I think for me, the phone call is just imperative, asking them what they're looking for, why they chose cuddling, why they chose me, how did they find me. So
Mm.
if they found me one way, like a referral through a friend, that might make a difference as opposed to the internet or as opposed to something else. And again, I also like to do that for marketing purposes. Oh, where are most people finding me? So I
Mm.
feel like there's a lot that can be helpful in that phone call. And then I do think that I think I rely heavily on intuition and energy in a sense. And so in a session, we never have to move forward unless we're both 100% comfortable. And so in the case of someone being super nervous or someone maybe being on a medication that I'm unaware of, which I am going to include that question and I don't yet, or I haven't yet, um, sometimes we'll do some somatic work to like calm down or get our energies pretty, and that's not common. That has only happened literally once or twice. But I think that having the tools to handle those situations or to be ready for almost anything is imperative. I have had a couple clients where I've had to, in the beginning, I was asking for a photo ID, and some clients gave some pushback on that. And I was able to actually meet them several times, get curious, and start asking, well, what's wrong? What's going on for you? And with some of the clients, we were able to navigate through it, negotiate. And with some of them, they chose not to move forward, and I chose to, not stress about it. And so I feel like it's so nuanced for each person. I would love to hear anything you're willing to share, Laura, about your vetting process. Or, of course, Alyssa, I would love for you to jump in if you have any
Yeah.
thoughts. I would love to hear.
Yeah,
Whichever
definitely.
wants
Thank
to
you
go
both
first.
for sharing. So the Google Doc, it's what you both touched on is like you need to of course find out why people are coming. So also like, and I feel like this is sort of an aspect of vetting and then sort of like weaning out the ones who maybe are not so serious is I do ask for some personal information. I ask for like email, phone number, name as it appears on their ID. I don't actually ask for ID once they come, but even just stating it like that in the question
Yeah.
on the Google Doc, like name as it appears. And just again, like it's the people who are willing to give this information, I think, are the ones who are seriously approaching the service and the therapy. And then I have a list of like check all that applies, reasons why you're coming to see me. I of course have my code of conduct, which they then have to like sign off on, and again, this sort of adds just like it's making it, more official, just, to like officially agree that you're going to abide by this code of conduct. It really just kind of confirms the fact that it's like, yes, I understand, I'm taking it seriously. I leave a space for, of course, like any other additional information they want to share. And then from there, like once they've filled out the form, then, I review it, and then, I'll start a dialogue if I have any further questions, because on the reasons why they come to see me, I'll use some more vague sort of options as well, like I don't know and other. And I notice sort of the more vague people are, maybe perhaps they are looking for a different type of intimacy. And so if they are being more vague, I'll push a little bit, and, and then maybe I learn they are looking for something more sensual or more sexual. And again, I have referrals for those people, and it's usually just a very simple conversation. There's like never any pushback, like once I do find out that they're perhaps looking for something else. And again, I think that's because I do just give them somewhere else to go. But usually again, in what you said, Crystal, about just sort of sensing the energy, I personally can sense that through the way people communicate via text, and I think most of us can. You can kind of gauge, so I'm able to just am I just kind of see like, okay, is this person serious? And then of course, it says in my code of conduct, neither of us there's no obligation to continue the session if either of us are uncomfortable. So if for some reason, someone were to arrive at my office and it is, just the energy is off and I'm not feeling comfortable, I would end the session. I would just apologize and say I can't see them. I think too, it's interesting because you mentioned vulnerability. I think that I'm trying to think of the reason I don't need like a phone call or a video call. And I am just pretty comfortable being vulnerable, like I always have been. So for me, the sort of communication via text is enough. And then just sort of like assessing in person during the session will tell me everything I need to know. And then also touching on safety again, like I work in sort of like a co-creative, co-working space. Like that's my office is like sandwiched in the middle of the building, and there's always people around. And so like if shit were to really hit the fan, like, and I were to like scream or something like that, I can't imagine that happening. But there actually is like, people know I'm in session, and people could intervene, not that I imagine that ever happening, but I guess that is also another aspect of safety.
I love that. I do that as well. I have a professional space and a co-working space as well.
Yeah.
And I prefer to work in those spaces. Not all professional cuddlers do that. They can go into the home or have someone come to them.
Yeah.
And I find that to be a little bit different for me energetically as well. So like a professional space creates a different set of boundaries for me. It's very empowering. So I have to admit that for me, I also value that in my safety protocol. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah, and I actually love hearing that, we've got 3 people here. We do it 3 different ways. And I know we haven't heard from Alyssa yet. Did you want to add in yours?
Yeah, I can. I will say, and I want to potentially do a podcast episode on this in the future, but
Yeah, that'd be great.
back when I was first starting out, and my practice is much more holistic now. Like I have a bunch of different services I offer, and I tend to approach it from that perspective where it's like I want to work with someone on as deep of a level as possible, and include as many of the tools in my toolkit as I can. But back when I was only offering cuddle services and hadn't built that much up for myself and was less experienced around holding boundaries, I did experience a few assaults. And so that's something that like my protocols and the way that I approach things has evolved over time just because I've needed to do that in order to as they say in parts work, like what's needed for safety in your system. Like your parts need things from self. You need to show up for yourself in a way that your system feels like it can trust I'll be taken care of. And so that's something that's really had to shift for me. And I've had to really grapple with like how do I want to put myself out there? How do I want to engage with people who are interested in working with me? And so back before I added other services, I had the ID, I would have a phone call, and then eventually over COVID, people got much more comfortable with doing video calls, and so I started asking for that as part of the consultation. Or I would ask to meet in a public place, like kind of near where I live or near where they live or in between, depending on where they're located and my availability. Because I agree, having that experience of their body language, their tone of voice, that can really help. And then, of course, I have my own set of questions that I ask, which the intention of that is just to get as much clarity as possible around what they're looking for, what they're needing. Because really, it doesn't do either of us any good if they're coming to me and they're like secretly hoping for something that's unspoken. And so I've had to be really mindful of how I'm conducting myself, because there's so much subtext, there's so much stuff that can get communicated unintentionally, even if your words are very clear, like the way that you speak or like the timing of things even and like you had said, Crystal, like I rely a lot on intuition and energetics now that I know more of that side of it, but back then I didn't. When I was first starting out, it was a lot more subconscious. Um, and so I do my best to get a feel for the person. And a lot of the times, the right people will find me where it just clicks and it feels like, okay, we'll work well together.
Yeah.
Like it's just experience over time. You kind of get a feel for the kinds of people that you'll best serve or not. And I do my best to be aware of like who's in my area that I can refer to. Or if I'm feeling a little more hesitant with someone, I can say, well, I'd prefer to start with a virtual session first and see how that goes. So it's just really depended on like the at the time the level of experience that I had and the level of comfort I had. I think before I had a lot of people pleaser conditioning, which I still do, but even more so then, a lot more likely to fawn, a lot more likely to just kind of go along with things and then not speak up very clearly right at the beginning or ahead of time as I'm noticing something in real time. And like something I want to call out here too is that it can be a lot harder to speak up about something if you didn't do it right, like in the first instance that it happened or that you noticed it. And so that's been a practice I've really had to cultivate for myself as well, is that having the confidence and the strength and the grounding in myself to speak up immediately and not because I think there's this concept in the trainings that I've engaged with called unconditional positive regard. And I've really had to learn like how to combine that and compassion for the other person and for myself. That I am holding positive regard, but not in a way that's dishonoring myself or like allowing myself to be hurt somehow or just like the priority of my well-being to be put under theirs. Like they can both be held equally, my well-being and the other person's well-being. So yeah, it's really evolved over time and there's a lot of nuance there for me around it. So that's
Excellent.
Alyssa, I'd love to celebrate and thank you for that share. That was really powerful, and especially I felt really called to honor that making our parts feel safe is a long journey, and that I'm
yeah.
very much in alignment with using intuition and energy, and that beautiful like supplemental training that we all go through on our own in our own way to evolve ourselves as we do this practice. I think that's very powerful and very important to think about in training in general. I would love to not only have an entire podcast on it, but I would really be honored to have conversations, just off of here talking about your journey, or even if you wanted to share more of your journey on a podcast. I think it's important because there are so many beautiful humans that want to do this work or that are just jumping in, either A, without training, or B, maybe with training that's very, very small, and their world maybe requires a little bit more, whatever that means, a little bit more hands-on, a little bit more in person, a little bit more supplemental, a little bit more intuition or grounding. And
Yeah.
I'm very much in alignment with the wound is where we all like the wound is where the light comes in, and I'm very in alignment with that. We want to do this work, and sometimes we want to do it because we need it too. I've been guilty of feeling and embracing and understanding that stepping into cuddling, I knew I wasn't ready without training and without a professional space. I didn't feel like I could do it safely. But fascinatingly enough, like I still had so much work to do once I got off the ground. Like I was really still
Oh yeah.
healing for that first 5 years, and I'm still healing now. But recognizing how far I've come and just so excited to see how far you've come as well. So that was powerful. Thank you, Alyssa. Like,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
was awesome.
And it's
Sorry.
so individual, right? Like we're all people, the clients and the practitioners. And so it's
Right.
this coming together of like, where are you at on your journey? Where am I at on my journey?
Yes.
Can we flow together? Because like even those people that did not treat me well, like they're on their own journey as well. And so
Yep.
that's just a part of it is just we rub up against each other in these ways, like metaphorically speaking, like there's friction there. We're all people, we all have our own like rough edges and things that we don't see, things that we need to work on. And yeah, so it's this beautiful, organic, like individual, unpredictable kind of thing that we just show up for every day and just be present for, and you never really know exactly how it's going to go. Even with a client you know really well that you've seen for a long time, new things can come up.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. There's
it's a
definitely
very
an evolution.
interesting thing to delve into.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think there's definitely an evolution and growth with some of us that have been doing this for a while, 5 years or more. Everyone I've talked to has said, "Oh yeah, when I was doing it in the beginning, I can't believe I was doing it that way." Like, but that's how you learn how to
Yeah.
do it now, right? So it's good.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for letting me share.
Yeah, thanks for
Yeah,
sharing.
definitely a big topic.
That's
So
amazing.
Definitely a big
And that
topic.
really,
Yeah.
I think that we can all, agree that this has changed us. And of course, that is actually one of the questions we'd like to bring to Laura. And of course, if anyone else wants to share, but Laura, would you be open to sharing, some of the evolution? I mean, you said you've done this about 5 years or over 5 years, and that's a long chunk. That's a decent chunk for cuddling. What
Mhm.
what has this brought up in you, or what has this shifted in you? Anything you're open to sharing about it?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's actually brought up like the evolution is more happening, I feel like, in the services that I'm offering, just because like I've just seen how varied the applications are like for this
Oh,
type of therapy. So it's sort of just like grown a little bit larger in that like kind of to include more kind of coaching, like vulnerability coaching, connection coaching, and even dating coaching. I'm actually starting to explore now with clients. Yeah.
love it.
Basically it just from feedback, clients have, they kind of told me how it was affecting their dating life, like, just the increased confidence and, decreased anxiety and stress and just feeling more comfortable in their body, and how that's applied, yeah, to their dating life and how it translated there. And so I feel like I've grown more in that way, like just exploring more different services. And yeah, I've really it I my sessions are like, I mean, it's whatever of course they're completely tailored to what the client needs, but then I did realize too, I think I do feel my best when things are a little more like active and lively, which is also why I want to explore the in real life dating coaching. Like this would be things
Mm,
like in real life mock dates, wing woman services, like this sort of thing.
okay.
Yeah, and
Interesting.
so I feel like this is kind of, I'm like, it feels very me, like to kind of be a little more lively, a little more active. Like I feel
Okay.
there's a lot of value in when I'm in this energy. Of course, I can be like calm and very peaceful and nurturing, and of course I'm doing that every day if that's what my client needs. But yeah, I'd say the evolution was more so with the services and the value that the clients actually are getting from the sessions. That's evolved mostly.
I kind of love hearing that. Like, wing woman is what really stuck out to me. So, I very much consider myself a hype girl, and what a fascinating concept, because I've always strayed from the concept of like escort. I don't want to necessarily go
Mm.
out to dinner with my clients if they're kind of
Yeah.
inferring some sort of romance. But I kind of love the concept of like our goal is to just hype you up and like get you out there. Like that is so fascinating. Have you been able to dive into that at all yet, or what? It sounds
I
cool.
have. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, no, I love it. Like, so this is actually like a total blending of like all my skill sets because
Yeah.
I'm actually a certified sommelier as well. I worked in high-end restaurants my whole life. So like
Okay.
even as far
Okay.
as like the mock date thing and like, if they want to like learn anything about wine and ordering wine or learning what they like to drink,
Oh,
I can also
okay.
incorporate that. So this is just
Nice.
like a perfect blending of like everything I've ever done. And yeah, it's quite exciting. Yeah, it's funny. The escort thing, like I just like I actually like I don't really it's like a platonic escort service. I actually don't I understand why people would be hesitant, obviously, to make that connection. I personally like of course I'll always have the word like platonic there and make sure people know what that means. But I have no problem kind of, I was thinking even like platonic plus one services and
Yeah.
as far as the wing woman stuff I've delved in. I'm still in like I'm testing period and I have a couple clients that I'm doing it with, but I realized one of my superpowers is being able to facilitate vulnerability even when I'm like not directly part of
Mm.
the dynamic. That's
Okay.
something I do in my group workshops, which so I've been doing also cuddle puddles for a
Mm.
couple years now. And then I also did one called like Platonic Intimacy Theme Park, which was just like again like a very like niche blending of like everything I love, like just
I
like
love that.
really good music. Like my best friend was DJing. I like just had the aesthetics exactly how I liked it, the drink selection exactly how I liked it, non-alcoholic of course. But yeah, I think like so. What's happened in the wing woman stuff again? It's very new. I'm just starting to explore it now, but I'm able to just sort of just strike up. If people are mingling, I can maybe be the one to start the conversation, like, or maybe
Mm.
just kind of weave somebody in, like just kind of very organically. Again, this is just a skill, like a natural skill set I have. Like I've always been a people person, always been extroverted. So I'm able to just sort of like, maybe start a sort of group dynamic and then kind of start the flow of vulnerability and then slowly just sort of remove myself. Again, it's not still, and every I'm sure every session will be different. You can't completely
Mm.
obviously predict what's going to happen, but yeah, that's basically how it kind of works out. Is I'm able to just sort of start the flow, make everyone comfortable, and then just sort of remove myself and then see what transpires.
Wow, I love that. You are opening worlds to me because
Yay.
I do that kind of personally and in my group events.
Yes.
I am a cuddle party facilitator and I'm the executive director of Cuddle Party. Um, but yeah, that is what I do. Like, is there someone here that you're interested in? And I know that I've talked with them and I know them and I think you guys would get along. Well, I love
Yeah.
doing that kind of thing. So yeah, it's like, ooh, here's another way I might be able to do it. So thank you for the suggestion.
Matchmaker, matchmaker, make me a match.
I love
I
it.
just saw that for the first time recently, actually.
Mm. The what is that? That's sunset.
Fiddler on the Roof.
Fiddler on the Roof. Thank
Oh,
you. Yeah,
yes.
I love that.
Fiddler, classic. It's been years
Oh,
since I've seen that.
I
It is
just
classic though.
I love the I love learning, like this is a nerdiness for me.
uh-huh.
Like it's very meta, but like I love learning about each person's individual nerdiness and how they like fold that into their practice. So
Mm,
it's just
Yes.
really cool hearing about how you've done that, Laura.
yeah, I love it.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Yeah, we
We
all
all
have
have different,
superpowers.
yeah, all the
Um,
different parts
Definitely.
of
We
us.
do.
Yeah. What are your guys' superpowers?
hmm.
Hmm. Well,
I think go
go
for it,
ahead.
Mary.
No, you go ahead.
I was gonna say I think that mine has been to so the hype girl thing is actually real and being able to stay in like a giggly like positive regard state has been something of a superpower most of my life, but the nurturing like mom energy, the calming energy, the ability to kind of like dampen or like lower the energy, if that makes sense. So if people are in a state of anxiety and we're able to get into any sort of cuddle pose or even just sit next to each other and have hands holding or hands on, like I feel like it's been such a beautiful gift to like shift my tone and breathe together, and there's just been some sort of magic there in a lot of my worlds. But I think acceptance and offering acceptance for who you are in the now. That's kind of my little spiel. And then I am weirdly into like Zelda and video games and cartoons. And so I feel like that childlike mentality of mine, or that childlike wonder, as Mary put it, the one day, I really am grateful to have the gift of that at times. And in many moments when in a cuddle session or in a group event, I feel very called to like the curiosity and the silliness and the just very, very, I don't know, I feel like it somehow is a superpower. I don't, I don't know if that's right, but it feels that way. So thank you for letting me share.
Cool. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, and I think one of mine is that just like people seem to feel safe with me, like I'm just non-threatening, so they can be themselves, and then I can get a little insight of who they are, and then I can maybe share that, help them share that with somebody else, and give them confidence for that. Of like, yeah, you're a person, you're awesome, and this is weird, but I do think that my age and my body shape help me with that. I'm a large woman, and I'm non-threatening because I'm not like pretty girl. I mean, I do feel like I am beautiful, but I'm not like, you guys are young and thin and very cute. I'm not that. So, but I think
I
that
think
helps.
you're cute.
Yeah, I think you're cute too, Mary. You're
Well,
very
thank
cute.
you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. Um, well, and I do think that helps me be non-threatening for some people who are maybe looking for people that are maybe more in your mold, but and it's nice. I've learned to appreciate it, I guess is what I'm trying to say, and use it,
Good.
right? So of like, and sometimes I have to remind people like, well, I am a woman and and I do have women's feelings, and if you want to practice on me, where I'm made me feel non-threatening for you, please do, So I feel like that is one of my powers of like, let me help you be comfortable. Kind of like you were saying, like win woman type stuff, I love doing that.
Yes,
So yeah.
that's awesome.
Oh.
Alyssa, would you like to share some superpowers?
I feel like this is something we've delved into a fair amount in previous podcasts, but I'm not sure what to share at this moment other than like I'm musical and I'm a vocalist, which I know Mary you are as well,
Yeah.
and like in the pandemic when we were all having to expand our offerings and get more creative about how to do things virtually, that was something I started offering was if you want me to learn a song for you and sing to you, if that's a comforting thing or something that like helps you find joy or experience joy, like or whatever you want to experience,
Mm.
soothing, whatever. I can learn a song and perform it for you, and they have that feature on Zoom for original sound for musicians, so it doesn't do any of like the
Oh, cool.
dampening or sound the like background noise stuff, which, if there's any kind of sustained tone, it'll cut it off pretty quickly with the
Mhm.
like noise dampening or whatever you call it in Zoom.
Yeah, true.
So that was a whole learning experience. It was very fun. And Gita was actually one of my first like guinea pigs for that. So I've
Nice.
learned many songs and sung many songs for Gita, and that's been really fun. And it's something I really enjoy doing. And yeah, I have a lot of other things that I'd love to share on a future podcast. But
Mhm.
I recently completed a death doula certification, and so that has even expanded my offerings more. And like
Oh, so
it's all about
powerful.
presence, right? Like we all have our own unique presence that just
Mhm.
feels a certain way to people. And so I think that's just it's a very meta kind of superpower that it's just my own flavor of presence. Um, and
Beautifully put.
and just that ability to hold space and to have compassion, that is something that I've continued to hone and delve into and learn to offer myself even when I'm just alone and I'm finding ways to soothe myself. So like even that's a superpower I feel like is just this ability to create my own environment and to change things how I need to so that I can be good with myself and then show up for someone else in that state of being good and grounded in myself. So yeah.
Nice.
Love
Cool.
it. Thank you.
Well, I'd like to bring the conversation back to Laura
Yes.
Yeah.
and ask you, like, do you collaborate with other pro cuddlers or other group facilitators in where you are? I know you said there weren't very many
Yeah, no, there's
community like.
There's not many, and no, I don't really collaborate with anyone.
Yeah.
I am so basically, as far as like the group facilitators, there's a lot of like intimacy workshops and stuff happening in Amsterdam. I feel like my flavor, I haven't really found anyone that sort of brings the energy and the flavor that I bring. A lot of the workshops available are like kind of like more within the sort of spiritual community. Whereas like I find the energy I bring, I don't know, like it's not that, I mean, obviously there is something inherently spiritual about connecting with your fellow man, right? So your fellow humans. But I would say there is just sort of like less of a spiritual sort of like focus or energy to my workshops, like a little more, yeah, they're a little more grounded on earth, let's say. And I've had actually clients comment that it's like sort of a nice bridge between, yeah, like, you know, let's say being grounded on earth and the spiritual world. Because again, of course, there is something inherently spiritual about connection. Yeah, but for that reason, I haven't really met like another facilitator who I just feel like I would want to collaborate with. I do everything myself. It's a lot of work actually, which is why yeah I don't do them as frequently as I'd like to. I'd like to kind of create a more consistent schedule. Um, and then yeah, I've as far as like other cuddle practitioners, I've met Madeline from Kalinotherapy in Brussels. She came up to Amsterdam and we met. Yeah, just to meet and exchange ideas. But I haven't really been. There hasn't been much camaraderie with many other practitioners. There is one other woman doing it here in Amsterdam, and then there's a couple in Berlin. But we haven't collaborated much. No.
Mm. Do you have any interactions with therapists there? Like maybe getting references from them or talking with them?
Yeah, I've talked with them. I'm not sure. I'm trying to remember. Again, I also have the question like why clients or like where they heard of me from. And I think
Mm-hmm.
a few of them have said they're therapists. They haven't like directly, there hasn't been like business to business marketing. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't have like an arrangement like that with anyone. But I think a few people have said like, oh, like my therapist found you and sent me your website. So yeah, so that means some therapists are open to me, which is great. And yeah, and just different coaches. There's so many different, I mean, like, as you guys know, there's so many different coaches and modalities and types of therapists. So I don't have any, again, direct business to business marketing with them. But quite some people have said that their coach found me or their therapist found me. Oh my gosh. And you guys will find this so interesting. I've had like at least 4 or 5 clients now say they were sent to me by ChatGPT.
Oh,
Like
awesome.
by name. Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
Because yeah, like I guess they obviously they're told ChatGPT their location and like what they were dealing with, and they said like go see Laura at Lekker Cuddles. So I'm like, not only am I like AI proof, but it's like actively giving me business.
Awesome. I
Wow.
love hearing that.
That is interesting. I'm curious if that happens over here. I'm gonna have to start researching. I definitely have been Googled a lot. Like people have said, "Oh, you popped up when I looked up cuddling in Pittsburgh and Google."
Mhm.
And I think that was a cheat code because I call myself Cuddle Pittsburgh, which makes it a lot easier. But I do feel like that's really awesome to learn. Very, very interesting.
Cool, right?
Yeah, so cool. Oh,
Hmm.
awesome.
Hmm. Laura, what would you like to see shift or happen in the industry in Europe or in general for cuddling? Like what kind of like thoughts do you have? I know we've talked about some of your future offerings, but like for an industry as a whole, is there anything that you're thinking about that you'd love to like, I don't know, share or move into in the future or have other people move into in the cuddle world?
For sure. I think just in general, there's just more need for cuddle therapists in Europe. Like I have
Yep.
clients come, like I've literally had clients fly from Sweden. I have clients coming from
Mm.
Belgium, from Germany, like all over Europe. So I would say in like Northern and Western Europe, there's more of a need for just more cuddle therapists in general. Because it was interesting what you guys mentioned, like mom energy. And I think like you can bring different energy to the like sort of the cuddling. Like I think I give more like platonic girlfriend energy. Like I wouldn't say my energy is mom energy, and maybe people are looking for mom energy, right? And so for that reason, like I think there just needs to be more options for people, right? So again, like when I see these clients coming from all over Netherlands and from different countries, I'm like, they shouldn't have to travel so far. You know what I mean? Like I'm of course honored and flattered, but there definitely needs to be, just I think more of us in general.
I love that.
Definitely.
Thank you. I agree.
So you did share about being a sommelier, but I'd love to hear if there's any other nerdy stuff that you have in your life that you just get really excited about.
Let me think. So definitely like fine wine and food. I'm a big foodie. Like I mentioned, like before kind of my career switch, I worked in high-end restaurants most of my life. I absolutely love traveling. I mean, living in Europe is the best because it's just so accessible as far as being geographically small. So you can just go an hour flight and be exposed to just like a whole different culture. So I'm obsessed with traveling. Just traveling, food, wine, people. Like honestly, it's really people. I'm just like, I always joke, like I have ADHD, but I always joke that like I don't hyper focus on like anything productive. It's like just humans. Like, I'm just definitely nerdy about connection, about people. And just vulnerability is like a topic. I've done a presentation on vulnerability last year for an advertising company. Actually, they found me, and they're just like, they have these different coaches and experts for their sort of like wellness presentations, and I did a whole presentation on vulnerability. So that's definitely like a topic I like to nerd out on, because I truly believe, vulnerability is intimacy. The two words are synonyms, and we so often are, sorry, I lost my train of thought. We so often are like hearing about the loneliness epidemic, and I just really think if people were, it's all a practice, but if people were more vulnerable, they would find connection more easily. So that's one topic I'm always nerding out on, and that's the agenda I'm often pushing.
Awesome. Me too.
Yay. I know. I guess we all are in our own way. Right?
Yeah, connection is definitely one of my things I think about all day long, all night. My thing.
Me too.
Nice. Yeah. So, what do you think you want to say to people out there who might be hearing this about maybe coming to try a session, or maybe to become a cuddler, or what do you think you would say to folks that are thinking about that?
I would say, so actually I've had this question before. I've had like aspiring, cuddle therapists sort of ask me about, how it's done. And there's one thing I'll say, like you definitely need to be empathetic, but maybe not like as someone who is just like an actual hardcore empath. That might get a little tricky, because you need to have, whether it's just like tools, that you learn, which of course, these things can be taught, but you need to be able to shake off, the energy that you take on in session, and I'm just really good at that. Like I'm giving my absolute all, my heart is open in session, but I am able to have, there are some boundaries there where I'm able to just, okay, shake it off. Like, and I mean, sometimes that's literally, I do have somatic shaking exercises I do if I've had like a particularly hard session. But I would definitely tell people they definitely need to learn, tools so that they don't get like overwhelmed by this work, and that you have to have a large capacity. Like you have to be very grounded. Again, these are all things that can be practiced, of course, like, even if one is not currently like that, these are things that can be learned and practiced, but you need to be grounded. You need to have a large capacity, and you need to have the ability to shake it off, and not let not harboring any energy that you did take on. Communication and boundaries, and consent, like just like delve into that. I've done some consent and boundary work with Mia Schachter of Consent Wizardry. I did their educators course, which was like really, really useful just to, delve into the nuances of boundaries and consent. And so, I would just say keep learning, of course, get certified, but, not just like to be a cuddle therapist, but there's lots of different relevant certifications, such as like boundary and consent workshops, different trauma-informed workshops. I've done Wheel of Consent stuff as well. And so you can just like keep building your toolbox and really learn your own. And I mean, to be fair, we often learn our boundaries by, stepping over them, to be fair. So a lot of this work, be prepared to perhaps learn while you're doing it, right? But once you learn your boundaries, just be like, conscious of them, aware of them, and do your best to communicate them by both body language and verbally, and have that confidence to do so.
Excellent.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that, Laura. And I really wholeheartedly agree. And I think that it really speaks volumes. I feel like just energy has become more relevant to me as I've done this work. So that's pretty awesome. If anybody is looking to find you, if anybody is like, hey, I'm going to travel and I would love to, dive into some cuddling overseas, how can they reach you? How can we connect with you? How can we learn from you more? Please share all of the things that would be easy to contact you, or all of the ways.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for asking. Yeah, so lekkercuddles.com. That's the name of my business, Lekker Cuddles, like I mentioned earlier. So you can just, there's like the message function. So you can just message me there. Instagram at Lekker Cuddles. That's LEKKER Cuddles. And you will find a WhatsApp number in there as well. Honestly, WhatsApp is actually the quickest way. I prefer WhatsApp. Just shoot me a message on WhatsApp. You'll immediately be sent my intake form, which you can fill out, and we can just begin the process from there. And and also feel free to message me on Instagram or email me. I'm always down to chat and hear of any questions or comments people have.
Nice. And what's the significance of lekker?
Okay, so lekker is a Dutch word, which is like probably the most used word. It technically means tasty. However, they use it to describe anything pertaining to the senses. So like the weather can be lekker, music can be lekker. It just means something nice. Like, but originally it was pertaining like to food. Really just anything nice is lekker. Like, so they just love lekker. So of course I'm like, how do I attract Dutch people to my business? And so I'm like, I'll call it Lekker Cuddles. But now I'm like international. So I'm like, wait, that was maybe kind of stupid putting a Dutch word in my business name, but whatever.
I think it's cool still. No, I think it still has a good foundation for you. Yeah. Like this is where I started. This is where, yes. Love it.
Thanks.
I'm learning from that too.
Anything else you want to say?
No, just thought it was nice to meet you guys. And thank you. Thanks for reaching out. And this was fun.
Yeah, excellent.
It was a pleasure. Definitely.
And you're welcome to hang out. And we're just having another little bit of our closing stuff that we do with our cuddle of the day and whatever. And then we'll do a check-in at the end of how we're feeling. So if you want to stay with us, I'd love it.
Sure, I'd love to.
Yeah. All right, what's next, you guys?
What is the cuddle of the episode?
Yes, the cuddle of the episode.
Do you have one that you want to share with us, Laura?
Sure. Okay, my favorite one, or should it be like a more
whatever you want to share?
Okay. Yeah. Okay, sure. I will share my favorite cuddle, and one of my favorite cuddles. Because it's odd. I like this one because it's oddly satisfying, and like not many people have done it before. And so it's the cheek to cheek. And so this is where we're like laying with our feet in opposite directions and like the back of our head rested on the person's shoulder. And then our faces are like smushed up against one another. And the reason I like this one is because even though there's very little body surface covered, it's like extremely satisfying. And I have a theory. And my theory is because the cheeks receive such little touch, like, of course, when we're washing our face or something. But other than that, we don't touch them often, and whether it's ourselves or others, or whatever body part. And so I feel just this like prolonged contact with the cheek against the other cheek, is just very like surprisingly, that's exactly it, Alyssa. Perfect. It's surprisingly satisfying. And I always like to share it because also many people haven't tried it. And I have one client call it like the teenage coming of age movie, where they're like in the park, like looking at the sky, thinking of all the possibilities. Yeah. So it's also
totally
a funny
using that one.
alternative name.
Love it. I'm totally using. I'm
Love
gonna call
it
it the
so much.
Lekker. I'm gonna call that.
Yay.
That's what I'm gonna call it.
Nice. Excellent. Love that one.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I have these monkeys as a tool to help demonstrate if someone wants to ask for something, or I'm trying to explain something, it can help clarify. So I use
Oh,
them
that's so smart.
in the
Nice.
podcast to illustrate the cuddle of the episode. So,
Cool. Oh, that's a really good idea, actually. Nice.
yeah.
Love that. Nice. Okay. So we have some promos, right? Were you gonna do those, Alyssa?
Oh, I totally
Someone
can.
Whatever works,
It's
guys.
the usual. We have our website, nurturednerds.com, and if you want to look for us on Facebook, we're Nurtured Nerds or Nurtured Nerds Community. If you want to join our community there, and we'll have all of the relevant links in the description. So anything you want to look for with Nurtured Nerds or with Laura and Lekker Cuddles, just look down in the description and it'll be there. As always, membership is free to join our community, and please like and subscribe and comment. We love to hear your feedback. And you can also reach us at nurturednerdsnewbies@gmail.com or nurturednerds@gmail.com. And as usual, we have a new member raffle for our community, and you will be entered into a drawing for a chance to win a free loot box with the Nurtured Nerds care package. And there's a virtual hangout, game night, nerd break, dance breaks. Just check our community page for events that are coming up. We always have something going on. And I think that's everything, unless any of you want to add another promo.
So Facebook is the best place to find out about the nerd breaks, when they are, and how to get there.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, the Facebook group. Cool.
Yeah, or you're welcome to email, and if you want a little more insight on stuff that might be recurring, or if you haven't been approved to join the community on Facebook yet.
Nice email. Nice. Cool. Well, I would love to hear how we're all feeling now, and just go around, and then of course the closing question is, are we feeling nurtured? So does anybody want to do a checkout? Laura?
Yeah, I'm feeling a bit I have like I think really quickly, and so like I am just kind of like reflecting on like how I spoke, and I think I was kind of like leapfrogging ahead of ideas in my head a bit, and so I'm feeling a bit like I don't know, I kind of wish I had like slowed down a little bit, and now I'm reflecting on Nick. I've been on a few podcasts now, and maybe sort of doing some breath work before would have helped me slow down. So yeah, I'm a bit like I could have just like been a little more slow, but then on the other hand, that's also not me. So maybe this was a more authentic version of myself, which is obviously what I always want to put forward. So whatever.
Love
Absolutely. I love seeing authentic you, for what it's worth.
Cool.
So, yeah, and I'm feeling, uplifted and good, and
Good.
loving the connection every time I do these. So definitely.
Nice.
Well,
Nice.
I
Yeah, I'm
also
definitely feeling
wanna
uplifted by you guys for sure.
Yay! I also want to point out Mary's book, The Art of Authenticity: How to Be You. That's part of the loot box, and it also adds credence to her saying she wants to see the authentic you, Laura. She literally wrote a book about it. So
Amazing. I love it.
How are you feeling, Alyssa?
I'm feeling nurtured.
Yeah,
Good to be back with you guys again.
good to have you back, for sure. Crystal?
Yeah, I second that. Very good to have you back and be present with you, Alyssa. It's a big deal. It's beautiful. It's been amazing to meet you, Laura, and to see you again, Mary. It's gorgeous. I feel very inspired, to be honest. I feel super like enlivened, inspired, and excited to kind of hit the ground running with all the ideas that kept coming up throughout our conversations. So I love that. Thank you.
Are we feeling nurtured?
Yes.
Definitely.
Yes.
Anybody who wants a hug, offer it.
Love a good self hug.
Yeah.